several occasions as well.
What does it mean now going forward? For him to call the media the opposition party, presumably he's not including Breitbart in that category, but when he says that in response to an interview, what does it mean for this relationship going forward?
Well, I think there are some journalists who revel in being the opposition party. I think it gives them relevance, and I think they like it. I don't think it's the appropriate role necessarily for the media, although the media will always, theoretically at least, be independent of the government, and so they'll oppose in that passive way any government simply by producing truth and by producing facts. But I think there are journalists who declared in advance on the campaign trail that they were proud to be the opposing party. I mean, there was lots of discussion about how journalists had to drop the mask of objectivity and had to participate. It was their civic duty to stand up against this man. That's just continued, and I think that's a big mistake the media are making, because there's lots of talk, you know, I watched the earlier part of your show, lots of talk about the president versus the press. I hear very few journalists talking about their relationship with the public. What's the relationship of journalists to the reading or viewing audience? Are they reestablishing their trust with the people whom they're supposed to serve? At Breitbart, we have a very close and daily feedback between our audience and the journalists who work on the site. I'm not sure that exists in other parts of the media, and that's something I think people could learn from us as well. You have to be independent, but part of doing your job is also dealing with your audience and making sure you're providing them the information they need.
If we're telling the truth, if we're citing statistics about crime, for example, and there's an alternative reality on a site like Breitbart that presents a much scarier doomsday version of crime, how are we supposed to reestablish our trust with our audience if they're getting fed misinformation elsewhere?
I really don't know what you're referring to. I do remember CNN editing George Zimmerman's 911 call in 2012.
You're talking about NBC's Today Show, not CNN.
It was NBC. You're correct about the editing. That's correct. CNN did, however, say that they heard a racial epithet on the call. So there was some.
So you're going to take an example from years ago. You're going to take it from several years ago. Reach out there, pull it out, and say, "Oh, screw the rest of the media," right?
Well, I have a concrete example. If you can give me a concrete example from Breitbart, has CNN ever apologized for that? I mean, very divisive thing that it did. It stoked racial tensions. It created some of those divisions you're talking about.
But here's an example from Breitbart that people always point to the black crime section of the site. There's stories tagged black crime. Those are oftentimes cited. And when Bannon was hired at the White House, that was cited as an example of divisive coverage, of racially tinged coverage of Breitbart.
There is no black crime section of the website, and I think that is something that has been completely overblown by critics of Breitbart who don't read Breitbart and don't understand what we do, that we have there's probably more diversity in the Breitbart, there's probably more diversity among Breitbart journalists and editors than there was in the entire traveling press corps that was covering the president. So I reject that assertion categorically.
By the way, I think that's an important point. I don't know if that's exactly true. It's very hard to measure, but certainly we need ideological diversity in all of these newsrooms. So I'm with you on that.
Well, I'm not just talking about ideological.
The site going more mainstream?
I'm not just talking about ideological diversity. I mean, we have diversity of every kind. And I think also it's very important, you know, what the White House said this week about media needing to listen is pretty much what you said the Sunday after the election, Brian. You said in a very moving segment on this show, you said the media needs to do some soul searching. And yet that afternoon you were calling us a white nationalist website, which I thought was not only unfair but also defamatory. I mean, I think that you need to take a step back. I think the media collectively need to look at what its relationship is with the public, and is it providing the right information for people to make their own decisions. I think you enjoy an opposition role. I think that, you know, I watch your show, I read your Twitter feed. You enjoy that opposition role. You clearly have an opinion, and more power to you. But I think that what readers want, whether it's from your show or from our website, is simply information that allows them to make their own decisions. I think you provide that when you cover the media, we provide that when we cover the news, and people have a wide variety of media outlets to choose from. I don't think there's any danger to press freedom. As the Reuters editor-in-chief said just now on your show, I think it's a very exciting time, perhaps the best time ever to be a journalist, and I think people enjoy the opportunity.
Agreement from our panel and with you on that this is an exciting time to be a journalist. Joel, thank you for being here this morning. Best of luck with the book.
Thank you.